hmm Well, good evening, everybody. Dean the Turkey Legster here. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Tuesday night. Happy Tuesday. This is Let's Talk Turkey, and so glad that you are here. I've got I guess I'll call it a fun stream I've got going on tonight. I just finished a series called Disney According to Dean. And I completed that last week. And today I'm going to be kind of doing an overview, kind of quick introduction to a kind of a selection of story concepts. Several years ago, a handful of years ago, I had aspirations to be an author, to be a writer, and it's kind of what led to first doing a podcast and then coming to YouTube, and the wanting to sort of produce stuff. And I had these ideas in my mind of these story concepts, these ideas that would come into my mind, and I never sat down to flesh out the ideas and to write out rough drafts and stuff, but I've got the ideas still pretty fresh in my mind, and I made notes down on a Google Docs thing. So at some point in time I could revisit them and write them, but I mean, at this point in time I don't really know if that's going to happen, but I kind of wanted to share. The series I just did, speaking, I mentioned a second ago, I did podcast called The Dean Report for a little while, for a couple years before I came to YouTube. And the Disney According to Dean, um, I did a series of that. Um, so that's what that stream series was all about and based on. And so I'm tonight's stream is actually based on the very first podcast episode that I ever did. When I first started the podcast, I was thinking I could talk through the whole podcast would be about talking through the stories and sort of presenting the stories as I flushed out the ideas. So instead of writing the stories, I would sort of narrate them and talk about them on the podcast. What I want to do tonight, and I will say hi to chat in a second. Um, what I want to do tonight is introduce you to some of these concepts and kind of introduce these wild ideas, some of them wild, some of them I think would probably end up being a decent story. Let me say hello to Tina McNeil. Hello. And hello to Chuck. Tina is getting hot cocoa ready. I can't wait till Florida gets hot cocoa weather. We're actually supposed to be getting a cool front coming through tomorrow. And I'll talk about what I'm doing tomorrow towards the end of the stream. But it's going to be several degrees cooler. So I can't wait for tomorrow because it's going to be the first real blast of cool fall air. Our highs tomorrow will not even reach 80 degrees. It's going to be like mid 70s, upper 70s. It's going to be really awesome. Captain Mickey Mouse, hello. Happy Tuesday. Glad to have you in. Surfer Girl, Cherie, welcome in. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Oh, Cherie, I need to send you a message. Anyway, I need to write that down. Hold on 1 second, guys. Dapper Vanta Crew, hello. 1 second. Do 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 do. All right, I should remember to do that. Oh, it's 39 degrees. Well, we're not going to get to 39 degrees tomorrow, but it is going to be nice. Main Street Nick, hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. So, before I continue with the main topic of tonight's stream, I want to show I got mail today from Dawn of the Hitchhiking Bones, and she sent me this in the mail, this pop-up card featuring the Peanuts. Happy Halloween, and it's got a press me, so it's got some fun music. Hope that picked up that. I'm going to do a short and put this up on the channel in a couple weeks. And there's a nice little note. It says, has to have it on the back. It says, have a good fright this Halloween. And Dawn, Jeff, Will, and Jillian. It's signed from the Hitchhiking Bones. So thank you, Dawn, and all the bones for that. So stinking cute. And I'm not gonna show this really close because it's got the address, but you can kind of see it. There's a fun Snoopy pumpkin thing. All right, but so thank you so much to the Hitchhiking Bones. All right, so tonight's stream, by the way, after Halloween, there will be Thanksgiving towards the end of November, and then Christmas, guys. If you want to know, speaking of the Peanuts, there are 71 days till Christmas. I know that because I asked Google, and that's what she said. So it's 71 days until Christmas. If that's even off by a couple of days, I hope you're shopping already. I hope you've got your trees up. Anyway, just FYI, little PSA. Let me go ahead and get into the topic tonight. I may actually need to do a second volume of this because I know me, and once I start talking, if I can start talking, I'm probably going to keep talking, and I'm going to be signing off by the top of the next hour because the Hitchhiking Bones are going to go live for a very special edition of their hitchhiker chat tonight, and I'll talk about that at the end as I send you guys out. Jason Thibodeau, welcome in. Happy Thursday, or happy Tuesday, happy Thursday Eve, if that works. So let me start with what I'm calling the unwritten stories. As I mentioned, I had aspirations to be a writer. Deep down somewhere it would still I would still probably enjoy sitting down and really firing up the old imagination and, developing these stories. But in one of them, the first one I'm going to talk about has a personal special meaning to me, and I'll share that one. And I'm not going to share this Google Docs, but let me see here. Okay, so the first story that I have on my list is called Nita's Flight. And this is a kind of a short story, but it is inspired by a former coworker that I worked with at a Wendy's, not my most recent Wendy's, but the Wendy's I worked at, from I want to say 2007 to 2012-ish, 11, 12. Um, no, I think it was 2006 to 2011. Anyway, I met Juanita. Her name was Juanita, and she was, when I met her, she was about to turn 80 years old, and she was hired as a worker in the dining room. She would work, she was retired, but she still wanted, a job to like get her out of the house and, keep her busy, make a few dollars. But she was hired as like the dining room attendant. And she would go around the Wendy's dining room. She would help greet the customers. She, would, the condiments stand there where you get your napkins and the ketchup pump and the silverware, your salt, pepper, whatever. She would keep that stocked. She would collect the tray. She'd go wipe down the table. She would just take care of the dining room for just like a few hours each day, from like 11:30 to I think about 2:30 maybe, just like the lunch period. Gloria Thibodeau, hello, welcome in. So I got to know Juanita. Everyone in the restaurant got to meet Juanita, and even when I wasn't working at Wendy's anymore, I would still keep in touch with her and thought of her as a very good friend and even kind of a honorary grandmother. Um, and so Juanita passed away in when I forget when she passed away. She passed away 2015 or 2016. Um, and it really touched me deeply. And there were a few things that I learned about Juanita, or Nita, as she just went by, Nita. When she was younger, she had experience as a pilot. She learned how to pilot, experience flying planes. She enjoyed that. Every time, she would see a plane, you know, flying, overhead, even the smaller ones that come by and they're coming down lower, she would stop and she would, watch that going. And she would, make remarks like, "Oh, it's so beautiful. It's, you know," and so she loved flying and the idea of flying. So that, always stuck in the back of my head. And then, she passed away, and around that time, this is back when CDs were still being sold in stores. And I picked up a CD at, I forget where it was, but it was like an instrumental or relaxing CD. And one of the tracks, this was right around the same time that she passed away. One of the tracks was titled Flight of Dreams. And I listened to that, and the word flight in there. I was, still thinking about Juanita loving to fly. And so while I listened to this song, I kind of developed, there was this image in my head, in my mind, um, about, Juanita, um, sitting on a great big eagle and flying. And the eagle came from a story that I heard from a mutual friend of ours that was also a Wendy's coworker that shared us with me that Juanita had I forget exactly, but Juanita had shared with my other friend about something to do with eagles. And so all that was just melding in my mind. And so when I heard this one song, I envisioned this story, Nita's Flight, is about when Juanita passes away and when, she's in, like in the story, she's in a hospital. When she passed, she was in a rehab facility. But anyway, the story starts with her in the hospital, suffering, and she's the opening scene is her just kind of dreaming about, reminiscing about her past life and things in her past that she enjoyed doing, and kind of wishing that would she could find healing and get better. And um and then she kind of dozes off, and then the first thing she sees is actually she's in a field. In my mind, I envision it as kind of a brown, overcast gray, really not interesting at all, really gloomy field. She wakes up and she's in that field, and then she hears this voice talking to her like, you want to go fly. And she turns around and there's this great big eagle. And so she gets on the eagle, and the eagle rises up and takes her on this trip around the world. For this part of the story, I kind of envisioned, the whole new world segment in Aladdin. That's kind of what I kind of envisioned, kind of a trip around the world. Um, kind of flying high and seeing everything around the world, all of the wonders of the world, and the Grand Canyon, and or like Soarin' at Epcot, even if you kind of think about those two ideas. But she's riding on an eagle, and then towards the end, and this is the part that I'm probably gonna I'm probably gonna start bawling here in a second, because when we get to towards the point of the story, and the eagle asks Nita, "Do you want to go home?" And then there's kind of this moment that happens in stories where there's this unspoken understanding about what that means, and then Nita answers and the eagle is asking, not asking, "Do you want to go home to Earth, to that life?" When you want to go home, the eagle's asking, "Do you want to go home, like to heaven?" And so Juanita says, "Yes, I very much do." And so the eagle flies and takes her to heaven. And when the eagle lands, um, I told you the field earlier was kind of brown, dead grass. It was overcast. Well, when the eagle lands, it's green grass, there's flowers, there's birds, there's butterflies. It's a blue day. It's so beautiful because it's heaven. And the eagle lands and Nita gets off of the eagle and just starts jumping and dancing for joy because she's home. And then I forget what the line is that I developed, but the eagle's voice, she hears the eagle's voice like behind her, um, a question or something to her, and she turns around to um to answer the eagle, and she doesn't see the eagle. Instead, she's facing Jesus. So I don't know what the whole homegoing looks like for a believer, for someone who, um, I don't know what that looks like. But that's what I imagined Nita's homegoing to be like. And so I can guarantee you later tonight or tomorrow, sometime I'll be pulling out that CD to listen to that music again. And of all the stories, the rest of the stories that I'm going to talk about, um, the rest of the stories I may not ever write, but I could definitely see myself going back to write this story just because, even though it's it's been around a decade, but I still remember, Juanita or Nita. And, she was really incredible friend. So that was Nita's flight. Um, Let me see here. Dawn, welcome in. Howdy, Dawn. I saw, who else did I see? Curtis family, Chris, welcome in. Welcome, welcome in. Yes, thank you, Tina, for explaining that. I was kind of enveloped in the story. So that was Nita's flight. The next story I have is titled, it's called Voyage, a Journey of Faith. And it's based on the biblical story of Noah's Ark. And I kind of envisioned, it being a really dramatic thing. And I didn't really flesh that out a lot. But in the development of it, I kind of envisioned a few things. One was there was an image of seeing a whole kind of like do you remember in The Lion King, the animated Lion King, where you have the shot where you see the gorge and then it comes up and then you see like the plains where the wildebeest are. Um, I kind of had just a mental image of seeing a great big valley or something, and the part of the flood where it starts coming up from the earth, and the rain falls. I kind of envisioned like a big gorge or a valley like that, just filling with water, or like a wave coming flooding that, at the beginning, and it being all dramatic, and for the start of the flood. And then of course and there was, at the beginning, of course, where it talks about the state of the earth and how mankind was and all that. um I had a lot of like visuals and imagery and ideas for that part of, like, coming up with, how sinful man was. um which you would think would be pretty easy, but in a way it's hard. It's easy and hard in a way, if you're going to write a story about it. um and I would really have to sit down more and kind of revisit that idea. But that's what the story is about, really looking at Noah and the process of being told by God to build an ark before the earth is going to flood. And then the whole process of building the ark, being on the ark and then at the end. So that's what this story was about. And I kind of, I think there was a movie that came out that kind of told, I think it was called Noah's Ark, and then it's like the depiction. I remember the depiction. They had a bunch of, I forget what it was. It seemed kind of weird, and so I think that's where that came from. Is where I kind of wanted to do a dramatic and cinematically um, wonderful uh, piece story that was biblically accurate but cinematic, because I mean a flood coming to fill the earth had to have been, it was a, I mean it was a tragedy, but it was just incredibly uh, what's the word, I want to say awesome, even though it was terrible. It was just, I guess awesome is really the word, but in the terrible, you know, tragic sense of the word. So anyway, that's that story. Voyage, a journey of faith. Next I have, okay, this story is called, um, this is for Christmas. This story is called "Oh Little Town," and it's, oh, catastrophic. Yeah, catastrophic. Um, that's probably one of the words I was thinking of. So anyway, the next story, trying to move through these stories just to give you guys a snapshot of what these are. Um, oh, thank you, Tina. She was very, I'm going to go back to Nita or Juanita. Yeah, Juanita was very special. Um, we talked all the time. I went to her house. The mutual friend, coworker that I mentioned, we went over to Nita's house a couple times and had movie night, movie and popcorn. I remember one night was The Sound of Music, and then the other night was an the older classic. I forget which one. Casablanca, either it was either Casablanca or Gone with the Wind, I think. I think it was Gone with the Wind. Um, that sounds right. Anyway, yeah, she was very special. Anyway, we'll move on to the story is called "Oh Little Town," and so in working, this is based on, of course, looking at back to the biblical, um, you know, retelling a biblical story or account, but trying to, if there's a more like catastrophic or dramatic or, really emphasizing the reality of the story. Because we hear Christmas retellings and it's like, oh, okay, Mary and Joseph ride on a donkey to Bethlehem. They have to sleep in a manger. But there was the Romans, and it was really serious times for people being under the Romans back then. And so this story really kind of captured that, and it kind of really tried to flesh out the part in the biblical account where Herod sins. It kind of centers around telling what happened in Bethlehem when Herod sent the soldiers. If you know the story, the biblical account, King Herod finds out where, baby Jesus is, and sends the soldiers, his, Roman soldiers, to go kill all the babies in Bethlehem. And of course, Joseph and Mary escape to Egypt, but still there was a great slaughtering of, children. And if this was going to be a movie, I'm pretty sure you probably couldn't depict it accurately because of what happens. But these soldiers will literally go in there and terrorize the town and kill all the babies. And so there's great, whatever the Bible says about weeping and everything. Dave's shaking, welcome in. So this is kind of, ironically, this story is told from the perspective of a shepherd boy that works, um, takes care of the sheep out on the fields. And so being there in this story, of course, being the shepherds, they get the angels. The angels come to them and they tell about, okay, the newborn king. Um, and so during this story, I kind of worked with reading the Bible, reading Bible commentaries, and kind of reading back, the how things would be, and so I could really capture the Bethlehem, what happens in Bethlehem with the soldiers, but still kind of through a series of flashbacks, remembering back, because the rest of the Christmas story, happened before that. And so the different scenes in this story captures the whole Christmas story being told by different people, um, you know, told to the shepherd boy at different points in the story. But at the end of the day, when the soldiers end up coming to come through Bethlehem, I think it's, well, how I have it in the story is the young shepherd boy tends the sheep with his father and grandfather and a bunch of other shepherds. And so at the end of the day, the grandfather is shepherd is talking to the shepherd, his grandson, the boy, after the soldiers have come, and the shepherd just has a very meaningful conversation with the young boy about, um, reminding him that even though we live in this world of hurt and reality and tragedy, remember that the Savior has been born, and what the angels sang about. Um, and I need to see if I have it somewhere, but I even like wrote out a song and made up a song and a tune, and I need to see if I still have that. Like the lyrics to this, because I wrote out like 3 or 4 verses to this a song, that, if this was made into a movie, would kind of, be sung during the movie. Um, so I hope that that explanation of that story made sense. I think might sound better in my brain, which is interesting to say. But so that's the Oh Little Town. It's called Oh Little Town. Let me scroll down. I think I will skip this series. Um, so next for next down the list, let me talk about another Christmas story. And this story is called Spaghetti for Christmas. Spaghetti for Christmas is this week when I was thinking about the kind of looking back at the stories and thinking about what they were, it kind of this kind of story is something you that could be probably made into a Hallmark movie or maybe not a Hallmark, but it'd be kind of those the message of spaghetti for Christmas, because who has spaghetti for Christmas? You usually think about ham or turkey and that kind of stuff. So the message of spaghetti for Christmas was like it doesn't matter if you don't do traditional things for Christmas. If you're with friends and loved ones, um, then that's what it's about. And remembering, you know, um, the birth of Jesus Christ. But and the story really kind of centered around the um, being together and remembering family and friends. And so it kind of it's about these two individuals. One is like an elderly individual who's kind of a widower, kind of an elderly gentleman who lives by himself. And then he encounters on Christmas Eve um, a youngster, like a college student, because it's probably a college town or whatever. And both the elderly gentleman and this college student, they are they don't have their loved ones and their family around. And the college student is, lives with friends and a group of. Oh, Gloria has had spaghetti for Christmas. Oh, okay. But it's not usual. You don't hear about that a lot. As it's kind of the point of the story. And so anyway, these college students, who they're not going to be able to, they've come out of state to college. But they're kind of strapped for cash, and the elderly gentleman is lives alone. His family, unfortunately, this happens, with elderly folks, is their family doesn't, keep in touch with them. So he's going to spend Christmas alone. And so they get to talking, and why don't, we get together, so the college students and the elderly guy, the old elderly gentleman, gentlemen, they kind of look at what they have, and they decide they have stuff to throw together this Italian meal. And so they spend Christmas together having a good time. And the elderly gentleman, this is where the birth of Jesus comes in, because the elderly gentleman takes the opportunity while they're gathered to open his Bible and read to these college students, the biblical story of Christmas. And it's just a great kind of feel good kind of moment, because these two people, these two groups of people, these two, age groups of people are, interacting. They're meeting for the first, they're gathering and just kind of befriending each other's, and spending, Christmas together. And so, and I forget how I have that story. And um, something happens. I think let's see, do I have any notes on this? Nope, no notes. I just put the title. Okay. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of the story, is these, you know, just spending time together with friends and family. Um, Let me see. Let me do one more story. Let me talk about one more story. I have a story called Prodigal, which again is a retelling of the the parable of the prodigal son, just kind of elaborating on that story, talking about how the son basically kind of really elaborating on when he's squandering his father's fortune, kind of the tragedy of him, of the son being broke and kind of losing his friendships and making his way back home. And just kind of fleshing that out. I kind of wanted, with also all these stories that I've come up with, I've just kind of really wanted to kind of, although I believe there's a reason with these Bible stories, if we're not told a detail, there's a reason, and we're told what we're told because what we're told, if this makes sense, if what we're told is already, what we're supposed to learn from these stories and glean from these. And so I just kind of wanted to put meat on the skeleton, if you get my drift, with this in terms of storytelling. Um, so the prodigal is the prodigal. I have a story called got a couple different titles. It's called one is called Leviathan, Master of the Deep, or Lair of the Leviathan. And I think they've done a couple, maybe movies or stories, kind of talking about Leviathan, which is a talked about in the Bible. Deep. But this kind of starts with that. It also kind of, I think when I was thinking about it, it would kind of play into the whole myth of the Bermuda Triangle. Um, sailors or people disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle. And the whole idea of the story was kind of also some inspiration from Jaws and some of these movies that have come out, like what's the one that came out? Um, the Big Shark, the Meg, I think it was. So kind of some of these things, but kind of introducing us to this creature of the deep, where and kind of also a little bit of a inspiration in the general story from what's the submarine 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, kind of playing it some elements and inspiration from that, kind of melding it all together, but kind of introducing to this creature in the deep that people, they think it's a legend, but then there's sightings and then these guys on a ship, they they actually meet Leviathan. So that's that story. It was kind of a fun kind of a seafaring. Okay, Cherie, have a great evening. Thanks for coming in. So let me see if there's one more I can just talk about really quick. Some of them I don't have, I really didn't flesh out a lot, work out a lot of the details. This is a fun one. This is the last one I'm going to talk about. Called Love Bug Season. If you know anything about the love bugs here in Florida, or if you've experienced the love bugs in Florida, they kind of really swarm around you and they just kind of fly Um, they kind of fly aimlessly, it seems, and then of course they actually haven't been as bad in the last few years. But several years ago, I got the idea for a love bug season, kind of thinking about what if the love bugs actually did swarm around somebody for a reason? And um, what if that was, I kind of, this story had inspiration from kind of some Alfred Hitchcock movies. If you remember, like The Birds, if you happen to see The Birds, specifically the idea of, when the crows land around or landing and around the people and really kind of freaky. By the way, if you have not seen The Birds, just beware. Just beware because it's something. Yeah, nasty time of the year, Gloria, exactly. So anyway, I got the idea. What if the love bugs did kind of a similar thing where they were kind of swarming? They would kind of not attack, but bother and congregate and come around um, someone who was kind of running from um had something on their conscience that they were running from and trying to get away, escape from. Tina, that's usually in May and in September. Um, but anyway, there's a Bible verse, I forget which one it is, but it says, "Be sure your sins will find you out." And so what I thought of, and in these stories, you kind of get my mind is very dramatic and very morbid and whatever. So I just kind of envisioned, okay, there's this guy and he just murdered someone. It happens, and he's escaped. He's escaped. He's hiding. He's in hiding. He's eluding arrest and whatever. But God is using the love bugs to swarm him where he's trying to hide on occasion, and several occasions they just swarm him, and interesting things happens with these love bugs is that they sort of all, instead of swarming around him, um or they start by swarming around him, but then they kind of go into like the form, like a what I envision is like an angel or kind of a spirit kind of a thing, where they kind of form a figure of someone, and they kind of speak to this guy who, to stop running and, confess what you've did. You need to face your punishment and own it. And this guy keeps running, and the love bugs, the first swarm isn't so bad, and then they keep getting worse, and then finally, like the third or fourth swarm, they keep getting more and more, and then finally he just goes mad trying to fight off these love bugs, and he ends up uh, ending his life, um, which is kind of the ultimate facing what you've done on Earth. Um, so that's that story. Love bug season. It's kind of like I said, kind of inspired by like an Alfred Hitchcock, but with kind of a religious kind of spiritual, God um thing. Yes, it did, Tina. That's where my mind is. This is why I need Disney in my life, because I need to eat turkey legs and I need to, sing happy songs, because my mind gets very emotional and gets very dark. Will go very dark fast. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream because some of these stories I really okay. I need to mark. Okay, so that's only some of the stories. I hope you enjoyed those. I mean, one big, I developed a trilogy. I'll just mention really quickly. I developed a trilogy that is inspired by C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. That, um, in a nutshell, basically kind of tells and dives into the backstory of the White Witch that we meet in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We're introduced in the Narnia story, the magician's nephew to her. And so basically, this trilogy kind of tells her backstory. We meet a sister also, which is not a complete fabrication. We are hear about a sister, and so I kind of worked into that. And so that's a whole trilogy that I was kind of working on that I could talk about. I'll have to do a volume 2 of this Unwritten Stories and continue this journey into my lovely mind. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Really quickly, for the channel, of course, Tuesdays, Let's Talk Turkey. Thursday, Once Upon a Turkey Leg. Tomorrow, um, uh, Wednesday, the 16th, I'm going to be going down to Disney World and I'm going to be strolling around and streaming for a little bit of that time. Um, well, at 10 o'clock, I've got a stream set up. I'm going to be strolling around the Epcot Resort area. And so that stream is set up. And I will be down there. Florida is going to be getting some great weather. Our high's only going to, I think I talked about this at the beginning of the stream, but we're only going to be like in the 70s for high tomorrow and then Thursday. Um, so I'm like, what better excuse to go down to Disney because it's always hot walking around Disney, and so on a cooler day is the perfect time. So yeah, definitely that. Um, don't forget replay giveaway. Really quickly, I'm assembling a little prize pack. If you want to enter, all you do is watch any video, live stream replay. The shorts don't count. Leave a comment, which includes the hashtag replay giveaway, and that's your entry. Watch, comment. Make sure it has replay giveaway. You can enter multiple times, as many times as you want, by watching a video and leaving the comment through December 8th, and then I'll be spinning for a winner on December the 10th. Also, working on Christmas cards in November. If you want to send me your address and get a Christmas card from me, reach out to me, theturkeylegster@gmail.com, or on Instagram at the Dean the Turkey Legster. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me. If you're watching on the replay, by the way, leave a comment, with right here, and including this stream, and let me know that you watched. Bop the like button, and I look forward to yes, exactly. I welcome to new subscribers, new friends. I probably should have opened the stream with that, but anyway, yeah. So guys, the Hitchhiking Bones is going live at the top of the hour for a very special stream. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Go over to the Hitchhiking Bones. Tell them Dean said gobble, gobble. Dean said gobble, gobble, and hello. So they're celebrating 5 years on YouTube. That's incredible, incredible journey. I'm very thankful and privileged and honored to have known Dawn and Will and their families, Jeff and Jillian. Did I say Jillian? Um, the boys, and then all the bones. Um, yeah, and it's just been great. Getting to know you guys over the last few years. And so 5 years on YouTube. Go over there, tell them Dean said gobble gobble and that I said congratulations, even though I'll be in there saying congratulations myself. So guys, have a gobbletastic evening and I can't wait till the next time we're together here on the channel. So bye guys, have a great night.